moment, so which means I'm going to blabber through it where we don't know whether we're live or not. We probably are. I think I can see that things are working. We are talking today about Amazon advertising, kind of a love-hate relationship that many Amazon sellers have with it, me included in the past, and my clients are no exception. We're talking with Hai Mag from Eva. Eva runs a PPC management agency these days for Amazon, as well as managing entire accounts, and they do repricing and all sorts of things. They've got lots and lots of statistics and data to back up viewpoints here. So it'll be an interesting discussion. Hi, welcome to our live. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thank you for having me, Michael. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, always educational to talk to you as well, and a pleasure to talk to you. And you're a big enthusiast for the power of structured approaches, particularly software, to cut through the mire and the difficulties. So if you are watching live or on the replay, don't forget that you can use the magic of social media, unlike the podcast, which is kind of my natural medium, to stick in any comments or questions you have. Please stick to the topic at hand. We're talking about PPC, Amazon advertising. Not random other questions like should I do retail arbitrage or something. That's not what we're talking about today, but anything relevant to that subject, do ask any questions or make any points, and we'll either deal with it live if we can weave it in, or we'll come back on the replay. You can pop your comments in, and Hai or I will have a look on our social media channels. So with that said, we're going to record a couple of podcasts live as is usual. So Hai, you ready to rock and roll with advertising in a time of recession?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. All right then. So recording 3, 2, 1. Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to the 10K Collective podcast for 6, 7, and 8-figure Amazon private label sellers. We're back in Amazon land today firmly. We are talking about Amazon advertising in a time of recession with Hai Mag from Eva. Hai is the CEO and co-founder of Eva, which is a truly sophisticated suite of tools that interact with each other. And they also run a PPC management agency. So they're in a really great position to have a lot of data to dig into. How do we deal with this tricky question? So Hai, welcome back to the show. Good to have you back.
Thank you, Michael, for having me.
Pleasure. So we're going to make you sing for yourself for now, I'm afraid. First of all, we're talking about Amazon advertising. That's tricky enough, but recession. Let's deal with that one first, the macroeconomics first. Do you think there's a recession coming? What sort of data have you seen, or things coming your way that you've seen that make you think that we have or haven't got a recession on its way in the USA particularly? I know that's where you're based.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, what is very clear to everybody is like there is some major shocks in the last 6 months on the global economy. It's not only about US. And I mean, obviously, the war in Ukraine, we still have the supply chain issues in China specifically, because primarily due to the lockdowns, as well as the U.S. central bank increasing the rates, the interest rates. I think that even if we cannot call it yet a recession, we are talking about a major slowdown in the economy in the next couple of months. And specifically on the central bank, the interest rate increases that already hit the Wall Street and the valuation of the software companies or large organizations. But we're going to be seeing more and more the impact of that in the next couple of months. So, yep, a major slowdown is coming, and e-commerce is always growing. So, but it's the right time to look at the cost, to look at how to optimize, to look at how to grow the business, and it will be more difficult than before. That's for sure.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. I guess it seems like an obvious thing, but people live in a sort of bubble within the podcast sphere around Amazon. And somehow there's something about internet marketers, partly because we've mostly grown up with internet marketing, I suppose, in the period when there weren't really serious recessions. I guess that the internet wasn't really a thing until the 90s. I didn't even have an email account until the late 90s. And that was pretty much the last time I think there was a really serious recession. There was a great recession, they call it, in 2008, 9, 10. But I think that was more what they call a balance sheet recession, which, if my economics serves me, is macroeconomics, I should say. Let me do that again. messed that bit up. That was, I believe, a balance sheet recession, which, if my macroeconomics serves me, isn't really about a slowdown in demand or supply side challenges, but it was more to do with sort of lending criteria. So something more under the control of central government, I guess. Whereas this one feels like it's one of the big waves, right? It's been due for a while, I guess, in some ways, given that these things happen on a generational basis. So question then, how do we start to grow our business now then? What's the overall sort of macro strategy before we dive into ads and how they fit into that?
Absolutely. I think that, not only just because of this slowdown, but in general, our experience, and me and my co-founder Barry, we run our own Amazon business for almost 7-8 years, and our experience is it's all about data. But I'm getting really a bit afraid of like talking about like a data-driven approach, because I mean, even like a boutique agencies with 3 people, when you look at their websites, it's all about data-driven, AI-based, etc. So kind of like the words are kind of consumed a lot, by let's say the sales pitches, and that's kind of like what I'm a little bit worried about. But I still want to go back and say that from my perspective, 90% of what you're gonna like, what the Amazon sellers should do, the private label sellers, is really to build a data-driven strategy together with their partners. Now, for me, the data means the big data, not just the small data, but the big data. Now, what's the difference? As an Amazon seller, a private label guy, maybe you make, let's say 7-8 figure seller, maybe getting hundreds of orders or thousands of orders, thousands of sales. And the data that you have, it's your own data. And maybe your agency works on that data, you work on that data, and try to come up with some solutions. But then there is the big data, because the big data is about your like the similar products in your catalog, in the category, multiple products in that category, the market trends, your competitors, their market share, their products, purchasing behavior of your competitors' products, all together creates the big data. And I'm kind of thinking that the only way moving forward is, instead of like just looking at your data, is to look at the big data and to come up with a strategy where you grow, because like the economy will not let like even the Amazon business to grow much faster. We already see that in Q1, the Amazon growth like really slowed down, which means that the Amazon sellers need to gain market share. So the key thing is now how you can gain market share. And the solution that I see here is the big data and how to work on the big data.
Right. Wow. Lots to take on board there. So the first thing to say, you're right. The word AI, intelligence, artificial intelligence, and data, they've both been debased. It's a bit like inflation. A pound only buys a very small packet of crisps. When I was small, 10 pence would buy a packet of crisps. So it's the same with the words data, isn't it? It's become overused. But just to clarify for everyone listening, you've got 20 plus years as an artificial intelligence expert. You actually studied it originally at university, and you've built software companies for big companies, right? So I guess that puts in perspective, when you say data, you really mean it from a serious perspective, not just a little agency with 3 people. So that's the first thing to say. You do know what you're talking about. And the second thing is, I guess it's pretty simple. It's like, if you've got access to lots and lots of different accounts, you can make generalized but accurate statements, which you can't based on your own account. God knows I know enough Amazon sellers who, some of them been in business 4 generations, not individually, obviously, but their parents and grandparents, great grandparents, and they still panic if they have a down month. And there's an emotional reaction to your own data, right? And we tend to overweight our own data and underweight the other stuff. Okay, and the other thing, market share as the only way to grow your business, which makes sense. If the market you're in is stagnant or even shrinking, the only way to grow your business is grow market share, which I guess means taking sales away from your competition, right? That sounds like a much more brutal fight than most of us have been used to over the growth years, what we've mostly experienced. So what's the basic strategy to take market share then? What do we need to be doing?
I mean, everything starts with the big data, meaning that it's not only your data, but your competitors' data and the whole, whatever the data inputs coming in the signals coming from the e-commerce space. So number one thing is, it's not about PPC anymore if you are talking about gaining the market share. That's why I think the time of PPC only agencies is over. I think moving forward, it's about an holistic approach to advertising, pricing, and inventory decisions is required, because these three main, let's say, domains are like feeding each other, and it's all integrated. The advertising decisions need to be based on inventory, or the inventory decisions need to be based on the price. And the whole idea is like to gain market share, which means that you are very right. It's a brutal fight, and it's about targeting your competitors, targeting them with the right price at the right time, which doesn't mean that like your prices change like monthly or weekly, but daily or hourly if it's required to fight better with the competitors, because the consumers will also look at price more and more in an economic slowdown. And targeting your competitors with the ads, not only just trying to like display ads, use the ads for impressions and all that stuff, but also to make sure that you are targeting your competitors and ensuring that you are not out of stock all the time. Because if you are out of stock, your competitors will sell similar products to your customers, right? So it's a big data driven, not data driven, but big data driven competitors, like targeting competitors approach. And the approach is a holistic one by incorporating advertising, inventory, and pricing together.
Yeah, I like it. So holistic targeting. It's a bit like I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna talk about the war. It's a bit like what we're seeing with the Russian army. They have pretty strong forces. Like they have kind of the equivalent of big data, but the way they're deploying them seems to be, from what I understand, I'm not a military analyst, obviously, but what I understand from the military analysts I've been following is that they're deploying their resources in a really weird way. The most obvious example being a 40-long tailback of tanks on one single road, where if one single bomb had fallen on that road, it would have taken the ability of 40 miles worth of tanks out. So that's a kind of dumb deployment of forces. And I guess the Ukrainians have had quite small weapons, but they've been fighting back with very smart weapons, or supplied by the equivalent of an agency, I suppose. So I suppose it comes down to putting together things in a smart way and being very, very targeted. And it turns out even in the real, we often use war as a metaphor in business, but in the real world wars, it turns out that's important. And it feels to me that that is a useful metaphor for us as well. So, right price, targeting with advertising, staying in stock. So how do we actually achieve that then? I guess, like, obviously you work for an agency or you're the founder of an agency and software company, so obviously to a man with a hammer everything looks like a nail, and you are obviously going to say that Eva is a great choice to do that. But if we try and step back one notch from that and trying to generalize the solutions, how do people figure out how to do this? Right place, stay in stock, advertising, targeting. What's the sort of general solution set for that?
Now, that's a great question. Yeah, Eva is a tech company, and we provide the consulting services to make sure that our technology is tailored specifically to a customer, and that includes then all the advertising and inventory solutions and pricing. But in general, I definitely say that Eva is the right solution, but The first thing that I would recommend to the Amazon sellers today is, to put that gaining market share as the first point in their agenda, like how to gain market share. And gaining market share means to have the best price. Now, to have the best price, I am thinking about like two major things. Number one is like how to maximize the profits with the price. And we think that, with 700 roughly brands, we are using dynamic pricing today. And our experience is in a 30 to 60 days period, we are able to see that the dynamic pricing increases the profits by 20%. So I would definitely recommend to use dynamic pricing, which means that as a brand owner, instead of giving a static price, you give like a range between a minimum price that is the affordable, like you are happy with that min price, and the max price, and the prices are like changing between that min and max, maximizing the profit. So that can be a very good idea. That's what I think it makes a lot of sense. Back to the min price, the min price depends a lot on your costs. So if I were any Amazon seller today, I would definitely look at my costs. It's a great time to see if the investments are done in the right way, because like the less costs you have, the less minimum price you have. Like obviously with dynamic pricing, things never hit to the minimum price, like because the idea is to maximize the price so that to maximize the profit. But if the demand is not there, if competitors are really tough, then you should have the flexibility to reduce the prices as well, right? So, and that comes with a much better cost allocation. And the cost means like reducing the operational costs in terms of like reducing like management costs, like advertising. How can you reduce the cost of advertising? Not only just the ACoS optimization, but also I'm seeing like a lot of brands are paying thousands of dollars to the agencies, and this needs to be optimized as well. It's a great time to look at how to optimize the cost of managing your advertising so that you have the best price.
Nice. Yeah. So I guess what you're saying is I've had this discussion the other day with my friend Jason Miles over in the e-commerce leader, and he's got a whole book called, I think it's just called E-commerce Pricing or Pricing Power. That's it. Pricing Power. And that's really, really good. It's more across the board than just Amazon. But the same thing applies, which is if you want to have low costs, you've got to make sure that if you're going to have profits, kind of obvious, you've got to engineer and sweat over making your operating profits and costs, and your direct costs commensurate with that. And I think that one of the interesting things I'd like to ask you is what you think about that. I mean, maximizing profits for dynamic pricing, by the way, super powerful. It feels to me like we're applying the sort of technology that the stock market has been using since what, I think the 1980s, right? So allowing computers to do the day-to-day pricing side dynamically against other computers. And again, to the point of a war metaphor, if you're using laser guided missiles and the other guy's just kind of shooting something which you have to point in the right direction, it's going to be a bit of an unfair fight, isn't it? And so I think there is a sort of escalation in the market where if other people are using dynamic pricing and you're not, you really lose out. So important point there. But what do you think about this? So maximizing profits, fantastic. That makes sense to me. However, if you're trying to gain market share, often you have to use what my friend Jason would call penetration pricing, which is to price aggressively low in order to take market share. And that's obviously going to hit or reduce profits to zero or even be a costs. What's your view on how aggressively people should use that kind of pricing in this kind of environment?
Right. I mean, there are different schools of thought there. A lot of agencies and some of the brand owners think that it's all about advertising. And if you have the right advertising, if you are always visible to the customer in a way, then you can get the product sold. Now, or maybe some of them might say like, you need to have that penetration pricing. And if you have the best price, then you can sell your product. Now, my thinking is, again, it's coming back to the holistic solution. It's about inventory availability. It's about having the right advertising at the right cost and targeting your competitors. And it's about having the right price at the right time. I think if you combine this all together, we are talking about an agile way of dealing on Amazon. Like if your product is agile, meaning that your product prices is changing, if it needs to change immediately. If you have like a competitor, you're able to target that again right away, like almost automatically. That will give you the agility that is required to gain the market share. It's not about having the lowest price, but it's about having the right price at the right time to make the sale. One day it's the lowest price, and one day it will be the highest price, because the system needs to be dynamic. And that's the beauty of it, to maximize the profits.
Yeah, makes sense. And the word dynamic keeps coming up. And I guess one of the things that strikes me about the current situation is not so much just recession or growth or high costs, low costs, whatever, but the prices are quite volatile. For example, raw material prices have been so volatile that if that gets passed through the supply chain, that means we're not necessarily going to have to pay twice as much for raw materials as we did this time last year, but one batch might be 3 times more expensive, and then the next batch might be 10%, 20% more. And so that volatility implies to me we need a dynamic response to it as well. That makes a lot of sense to me as well. Now, one little area that we ought to talk about, if PPC includes off Amazon advertising, is that something you have any handle on? Do you do any off Amazon marketing for your clients? And if so, is it actually going to help save us and get us market share at a profit, or is it not what it's cracked up to be?
Oh, that's a great area. Like we are exploring it for months now, and because I was always skeptical if the off Amazon marketing can drive really good results, and how this can help the sellers in this market conditions to gain more market share. Now, one of the things is like, I mean, after many months of testing TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and Google advertising, I can tell you that it works. So it really works. Recently, we did some tests with TikTok. It's kind of my, let's say, most favorable platform right now to bring traffic to Amazon, but it also depends on the products. Like depending on the product, you may use TikTok or Facebook, or it all depends on the communities. But with TikTok, we were able to not only bring really good traffic to Amazon, but also very interesting. But it's not only just impressions that we deliver, but we are getting like more customers like converting from TikTok. Like it's not only about like increasing the ranking of the product by diverting external traffic, but we were able to observe that it helps with the conversion rates on Amazon. So that's not what I was expecting, but it happens. So I think that off Amazon marketing is a necessity. And I mean, the other thing, like my advice to all the brand owners, there's some like automated tools like to make that advertising done, but unfortunately, you really need like someone who is a TikTok expert, a Facebook expert, a Google expert to optimize the ads and the quality. And my recommendation is to use the video ads and make sure that the video ads are attractive enough, like the people click on them. So the better ad, the better video ad that you have, the better results that you're going to be seeing. Otherwise, it's not like, I mean, here is the image of the product and maybe some copyright and try to get something out of TikTok. Like the TikTok ad needs to be optimized, and the TikTok, like it has to be a really good video, like an impressive one. and then the results will be amazing on Amazon as well. So this is our test, like in the last couple of months, and I think that it's a great way to gain market share, because with the right ads, the rankings will increase, and Amazon is also like subsidizing, like, you know, helping the cost to go down, especially if the sale is a result of an external traffic. So that's also coming into the equation.
Wow, and that's interesting. I wasn't necessarily expecting you to say this either. I was thinking you were going to say, "Oh, yeah, off Amazon ads don't work." I mean, they've not got a great history of working very well. So let's just dig into some of those numbers then, because we were talking about PPC. We were going broader than I was expecting, but this is good. So let's talk about the economics. So if I'm running TikTok ads, first of all, you're talking about doing quite a high quality video ad by the sound of it. So what is the sort of cost of a video ad up front? What are the costs per click, and what is the sort of financial return that we can get from that?
Well, I can tell you only from an Eva point of view. Like, I mean, as I said, my first approach to that was whether we can deal with the TikTok or Facebook or Google just by using some automated tools, like you create a campaign on Amazon and then publish it to the same keywords to TikTok, etc. It doesn't work like that. So what I did was, like, I created a department within Eva, like with specialist person, like dedicated to Facebook, 2 people on TikTok, another few to Google. So you need the experts on each domain. So that's the number one thing. So that's what we did. Number two, because we are able to automate the PPC internally, we didn't reflect any cost to our customers. So what we do today is, like, we incorporate the off Amazon marketing with the special skilled guys, like they're only dedicated to the domains that they create the ads, and we are able to incorporate that off Amazon marketing into our PPC management fees without adding a single penny on top of it. So that's what we did. I mean, and that's what needs to be done. Like, what we think is, and that's why going back to the brands, spending thousands of dollars to agencies just by like even like dealing with a percentage-based agreements, like based on ad spend or ad performance, I think it doesn't make sense. We go for fixed price, and off Amazon marketing is included without adding a single penny. Now, in terms of videos, I mean, again, it's not really to create like creating a best video can cost like a couple of $1,000s. But by using like all the existing material already on Amazon, but adding the motion to that is even helpful. Adding the right copyright motion, we're able to like make it almost like an ignorable cost to deliver a working copy of a video ad. So that's what I can tell you that.
Right. So it sounds like in summary, you hired channel experts and then you've just kind of incorporated it into the cost for your clients, which is great for your clients. I guess it sounds like not an easy thing for everyone else to replicate by the sound of it. I guess, as you say, the trouble with something like TikTok is it's got its own demographic, it's got its own style, which is really different from Amazon, where people are there to shop, right? So if you've got nice pictures, your conversion rate's quite good already. If you use an advert in the listing, that's a video, it still stands out. If you use a video ad to get ranked on the results pages, it still stands out to a degree depending on the space you're in, right? But on TikTok, it's a video platform, so the standards higher, I guess is what you're saying. Is that right?
That's right. And then maybe one more thing to add, we also measure all the data on the TikTok side, the impressions, the clicks, conversions, and then we incorporate that data into our big data. And then 7 to 14 days later, we take the Amazon attribution data which is not exactly the same data that we are getting from TikTok. Like one says, I did 5 clicks. The other one is like, oh no, you did 3 clicks. But we found a way of like reconciliate the data and come up with really meaningful ideas that's really helping a lot, you know, for us to automate a lot of things and figure it out, like how we without spending too much on like the video creation and things like that, how we can leverage the existing assets and still get to the same results by, again, using the power of data.
Yeah, and I guess that I remember literally a rocket scientist that I worked with for a while and ran an Amazon business with. He's got a master's in rocket science and a physics degree. Worth noting that the 2 richest people in the planet have physics degrees right now. At the time of recording, Elon Musk's wealth seems to go up and down, as do my Tesla shares. Jeff Bezos more stable, but that data-driven thing. I remember having that conversation with Rob, and he said, "Look, when we get the choice, Mike, can I just ask you? Let's be led by the data." And I think that we have to be honest and say that the more sophisticated we get as e-commerce operators, the more it's about data. And yes, you've got to make human level decisions about products, and marketing is about human communication. But when it comes to decision making, if we put it this way, the data has to be very, very big part of it, doesn't it? And as you say, the real meaning of big data, not the stuff that they say at the boutique agencies. But when you've got, I guess, if you're working with, you know, several hundred Amazon accounts at any given point, you guys have got quite a large amount of data points now. So final thing we ought to talk about then is just to give you a chance to mention what services you guys offer over at Eva. Obviously you do PPC management, you mentioned repricing, stock management. Just give us the simpler version of what is on offer here.
Yeah, maybe I start with like one of the services that can also be very helpful in these, you know, economical conditions. It's about like recovering your funds as an Amazon, Amazon seller. There is a possibility to recover at least 2 to 3% of your funds, which is called the Amazon reimbursements, because of all the problems on the inbound warehouse management, customer returns. There's always a possibility to open cases and claim the funds that belong to the Amazon seller. Now, what we do is like we charge 13% on that reimbursements. It's 1-3. A lot of sellers, when they hear it the first time, they are getting shocked, like, you know, because they pay 20 to 25%. And when they hear about like 50% of the cost, it's kind of shocking. Yes, we do it. And yes, it's manual. And yes, it covers every single possible reimbursement. So that's a very nice way of like reducing the cost of the reimbursements and maximizing the refunds that are coming from the reimbursements. I think every seller should be looking that as a low-hanging fruit and switch to Eva and pay half of the cost, like, I mean, 50%. And dynamic pricing and replenishment forecasting, profit analytics. These are the other things that are available with the Eva platform. And it's a fixed price subscription. Same thing as advertising services, as well as turnkey account management and off Amazon marketing. Everything we do based on big data, based on like understanding the market, analyzing the market. We monitor more than 20 million products daily on Amazon, which means terabytes of data is getting stored in our servers. And we focus on gaining market share, how to beat the others for you. That's why in a particular category, we typically work with one company because we want that company to be the market leader. And it's kind of like our focus area. And everything we do is fixed price, is affordable. And that's also another thing that we really want to take care of all the Amazon sellers, smaller or the larger, but really to pay less money and maximize the output from that, because that will create the agility to have the best price, to invest more in advertising, to invest more on inventory if we are able to help also to reduce the costs.
Wow, so there's a lot you guys offer. So let me just quickly recap that, and then I've got a final question for you. So for the reimbursement, we've got some links for people here. So to get the reimbursement, I'm just going to call it refund because it's easy to remember. Go to amazingfba.com/refund. And if you want to check out the overall sort of Eva engine, that is a stock management / repricing engine, you go to amazingfba.com/Eva. Now, coming back to PPC, because it's easy to end up getting confused here, but I'm bringing it back to PPC to close. I know you guys have got a PPC audit, so tell us a little bit more about that, because I know you've added some functionality to that recently. What do you offer people there?
With the reimbursements?
With the PPC audit.
Oh, yes. Like, I mean, sorry that I didn't mention that one. Like, I mean, one of the things that we do, and thank you very much for reminding that to me. I mean, and that's a free audit, a free holistic audit of the account. We typically spend 2 to 3 days. We check the data, we check the market, competitors, as well as like do a competitors analysis, and deliver the Amazon, the brand owner, where the optimization can happen and how to grow the business. If it's possible, we also deliver a 12 months projection of the business. And that's kind of like what we think that can happen. And based on all the findings, which we also share transparently with the brand owner. So I think that it's a great free study for the private label owners, brand owners, and it's free. So and then we present that. If the brand owner wants to work with us, we can definitely kind of like deliver our commitment based on the projections that we delivered, and work based on that projections, based on that performance, or if not, at least it will be a great insight for the Amazon brand owner, I mean, to use in their own business with their own third-party providers.
Yeah, I think getting free advice from somebody who's got a lot of data and a lot of expertise now in certain areas is always worth getting. So yeah, it's a very detailed. I've looked in detail, and we've gone over it, 1 or 2 examples together, and it's seriously detailed. So that's very, very helpful, because the devil is in the detail with PPC. So just if you want to get that, folks, we've got a link, amazingfba.com/PPC audit. I know that it's an account-wide audit, but just to simplify that, it includes PPC, amazingfba.com/PPC audit. So look, let me just back off 1 notch and just say the final point that I want to put to you is one that a mastermind member mentioned to me recently about Eva, which I thought was a very important point to address, which is you guys appear to do a lot of different things, which to somebody used to separate tools that don't speak to each other, like, we're not going to name them, but certain software companies that have, well-known suites of tools, and they kind of operate separately, and it's like a grab bag of tools. The danger seems to exist that you can be jack of all trades, master of none. So defend yourself, sir, as we would say in Britain. What is it about Eva that means that you can do that? Is that a danger, or would you say that it works differently for you guys?
Well, I mean, I spent 20 years in companies like Oracle, IBM, and Accenture. I mean, Oracle had, when I left like 3 years ago, Oracle had maybe more than 15,000 solutions and full suite of ERP, CRM, etc. So one of the things that is very important for the Amazon sellers, I don't believe the future of Amazon software, and even like all this agency work, it's not about 500 different software and 1,000 boutique agencies trying to help the sellers. And it's the sellers, it's not also a moms and pops business anymore. It's not like, it's a real business, the e-commerce. We've worked with customers, they make millions of dollars. And from 10K to $1 million, maybe it's like in 12 months, anybody can achieve that with the right product. So e-commerce is accelerating the possibilities of success. And with all these things said, the future is about the consolidation of these efforts into more sophisticated tech companies with their consulting workforce that can help the Amazon sellers in a much better way, in a holistic way. Because it's not about three siloed solutions of inventory. I know, like, for example, there is a lot of like restocking optimization software. The problem is that restocking has a lot to do with the price, with the sales velocity, and the sales velocity is impacted directly from price, also from advertising. So my question would be like, how to really create an accurate optimization of the inventory restocking without understanding the advertising investment, without understanding like the sales velocity and the price. So it all comes to the same solution. It's not about like there are different trades. It's actually one single business about the inventory, the price, the advertising. It all comes as a one single solution. And why it's unique to work with Eva? Because yes, we are able to integrate and holistically like create an engine which holistically gives a next best action based on the input of the three domains. So that's the value. If it is only one domain, if anybody thinks like I'm a restocking expert or I'm a pricing expert, it doesn't work. If you just play with the price and do not know the other two, it doesn't work. So that's why it's one single solution that we are the experts of.
I like it, and you put it very, very clearly. And I've always, for years, manually been working my way towards something like this. I'm not a software guy. You're a software guy, so you looked at this problem and saw a software solution. I've been manually working with people and pointing out the fact that if you want to increase the per unit profit, you'll tend to slow the sales velocity, and then you're into the question of, okay, is that a good thing? How quickly do you turn your cash over? So it has to be a system of systems, doesn't it, a business? And I like that a lot, which is one reason that I keep getting you guys back on the show and that we have this partnership, because I think that is the right way to think. And I agree, this whole siloed thinking is just not sophisticated enough to do the job, and particularly in a time where at least we're looking at a slowdown, as you put it, maybe not technically a recession. And so I think this is important thought experiments, if nothing else. So thank you so much for coming on. Hai, I really always thought provoking to talk to you, and enjoy the show. If you're listening and you want to get those links again, then just head over to 10kcollective.com and you'll find show notes for today's show, as you will for every others. But for the moment, Hai, just to say thank you so much for coming on and opening our minds, blowing our brains a little bit as well. So we've got to go and digest this stuff, but really important stuff. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael, for having me.
So folks, if you're watching, try and speak English. If you're watching on the replay or been watching live with us, I haven't seen any comments to reply to. They may be there. If I've missed them, forgive me, but I can't see the comments on my Restream software. But do ask any questions, again, about the topic, please. PPC, repricing, stock management. We're not talking about retail arbitrage today or off Amazon sales or anything like that. Then please do pop them in on the social media platforms out there. Hai, just remains for me to say thanks again for coming on live with us. Great to have you.